Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to the channel. I'm Droozee, and I'm here with another Pokemon Yellow Challenge run. And today we're doing the second straight ground Pokemon in a row, and this time it's Sandslash. Like Dugtrio was before, Sandslash is also an evolved Pokemon, so the base stats are pretty good to start with. And Sandslash has pretty good stats. It's in the top third of all Gen 1 base stat totals, but most importantly, it's not as much of a glass cannon as Dugtrio was. Sandslash has a much stronger attack and defense, but it does have lower speed, so that means in Gen 1 we'll also have a lower critical hit rate as well. So we'll see if that ends up making a difference, but I don't know if it will too much because we will still get Slash, which is still a guaranteed crit. Sandslash has a pretty deep move pool as well, and again we're going to be relying on Dig and Earthquake for strong stab moves, but I also think there's going to be a couple other moves that Sandslash gets that Dugtrio doesn't that I'm really excited for, and I think will make this a lot easier overall than the Dugtrio run. There is the downside though that because we don't start with Dig, it will be much harder to end up taking out Brock. Since we're a ground type, I'm going to be forcing our rival to go into Vaporeon again due to that strong water typing, and it's actually a lot harder than you would think to lose this first battle. With Dugtrio, we had Growl so we could still take damage consistently, but with Sandslash, he has Sand Attack instead of any other move. So it has less PP and it lowers accuracy, so eventually we're going to have to attack and we end up taking out the Eevee in that process. In total, this took many tries to get right, but eventually things do go our way and we are able to lose the battle, which seems really weird to say that I had to lose the battle and things went well, but that's how Gen 1 works sometimes, and we're going to force him to get his Vaporeon this way. So there you go, we're down losing, and now that means he'll get his Vaporeon as we move on later into the game. So with our lab battle out of the way, we're now off to do our early game errands before we head on to Brock, and we do our first attempt at Brock at level 11. While I normally hate using Sand Attack because it just is so unreliable, we will be using it here to try to avoid damage so we can make it further into the battle with the Onix. One problem we do run up against though is that even when we do get a good amount of health left after the Geodude, we're still not doing enough damage to Geodude, and we start running out of Scratch PP. So in this first battle here, we end up taking out the Geodude, and we still have a pretty good amount of health left, but at the same time, we only have 13 Scratch PP when we actually make it through the battle, and that's just not going to be enough when we go up against Onix. When we face Onix, we're only doing about 1 damage with each of our attacks, and that's just not looking very good. So eventually, even with our Sand Attack being able to waste turns on Bide and still being able to do some more damage, we're just not going to be able to take out Onix as a whole. So even if I was to get really lucky with critical hits throughout, it's just not going to happen. And also, Onix is outspeeding us, so we're also taking some Bide damage as well. So this just isn't looking possible at level 11, or I guess level 12 since we've leveled up. But once we get, because we have some good base stats, it might only take a couple levels before we can actually make this reliable. So as the Bide takes us down, because we get a critical hit, we're going to take a little bit of extra levels here. We're going to come back a little bit higher level, so we try again at level 12 and see if we can make it through. So we start out with Sand Attacks on Geodude and lower the accuracy again, but one of the biggest differences is just with that single level, Geodude's Tackle, which was doing 4 HP, is now only doing 3 HP of damage every single time. So that makes a huge difference, because instead of going into to the Onix fight with 19 HP, we're going in with much higher health overall, nearly full health as it actually turns out. We also go in with a lot more PP than we did before, and that extra level to level 13 means that we can actually do 2 damage sometimes as well, so it's not always going to be that 1 damage that we were seeing in the previous fight. We also are now in a speed tie with Onix thanks to that single level, so that means that we can sometimes avoid taking damage from Bide as well, which means that we can do even better. So it's a really nice setup here as a whole, and you can see already we've only taken 8 damage and we're already at half health for the Onix. So as we're whittling down the Onix, anytime it uses Bide, we switch into Sand Attack, lowering his accuracy, and to the point that he falls in love with Bide at about 40% health, and he uses it 4 times in a row. And at this point, we just totally blind him with sand, and then we're able to take him out and earn our first badge. So I'm not a huge fan of resorting to sand attack, but it really is the only option here to produce a consistent result once we're in a speed tie or we outspeed the Onyx. And really, the only thing we're doing with sand attack is just wasting our time. So it's not intentional that we're using it to lower his accuracy, but it is a nice happy accident that comes with it. And that is the Brock battle. And so with that, we've earned our first badge, and we're on to the rest of our journey. And for the first time in a while, things are actually exciting in Mount Moon. In the battle with the Super Nerd right before we get to choose a fossil, we level up to level 17, and then we learn Slash. And immediately we see how great Slash is, so much better than Scratch, and it one-shots both Voltorb and the Coughing. It is absolutely fantastic because it's always a critical hit. Almost always there's a chance that it's not, but we almost always get a critical hit, and that is an amazing thing to have this early in the game. We pick up the Helix fossil, and then I make my way on to Cerulean City as we get stopped with Team Rocket. I wanted to show off Slash again because it's so much fun using this in the early game. Using our new Slash, we make quick work of the team and exit the mountain. And as this happens, I'm actually going to go to rival number 2 first because Misty Starmie is really good, has Bubble Beam, and we don't have the greatest special, so I don't know how well we'll do that. And she has good AI, so she's going to prioritize either Water Gun or Bubble Beam. So I'm going to pick up a little bit extra experience, go and take on rival number 2, and then maybe even go to the SSN first. I'm not sure yet, but we'll go into the rival number 2 battle now. In this battle, we don't have to hold back, and we can actually show how great of a Pokemon we can be. So, we make quick work of his entire team using Slash, and although this is the first time victory, you're seeing the first time I went into this battle, but I played a few others even after that, and the only thing that makes this close, not even a loss, but makes it close, is if we get sand attacks from Sandshrew or Eevee, and it's not even a real risk of losing, but it does make the fight take a long time. It can be really annoying because we just can't hit him. So, and with that, we've now defeated Rival 2, and I decide, let's go take on the SSN, get a couple more levels, and so I take on Rival number 3 right after, and we'll see that battle now. Rival number 3 really doesn't have much to talk about here. I mean, I'll show the footage, but we only take damage from a quick attack from his Rattata, so we have a significant level lead now built up over Misty's Pokemon, and so even though it's not great, we're going to have to go back to her and face her because we don't have any other options right now. Even though we'll pick up Cut, we will need Misty's Cascade badge to use Cut outside of battle, and you need that to get into the Electric Gym. So with that said, we're going to have to run back and go to Cerulean City and take on Misty. So as we go into our fight against Misty, she'll obviously start with Staryu. And it turns out that Staryu is a one-shot with Slash, so that gets an easy move on to Starmie, and she'll use Bubble Beam. And Bubble Beam does a lot of damage, does over half. So I use Slash, it does over 3/4, so maybe if she uses Water Gun instead, or she could use an X-Defend. Really odd decision, but she does have a 1 in 3 chance to use X-Defend there, so it's strange, but either way, we'll take our second badge, and with that, we'll head on down to Vermilion and take on Surge. And since we have a ground type, I don't think he's going to be much of a trouble at all. Surge starts with a Thunderbolt, which can't hit us because we're a ground type. Our Slash does 3/4 of his health, and then he growls before he gets taken down. Easy as you'd like, and that's our third badge. You might have seen that I didn't actually teach Dig, which is a powerful stab move here, but I wanted to keep it off so I could give it to Charmander for overworld travel, more than use it in this battle. I would replace Dig with Earthquake as soon as I got it, so I wanted to keep it around to make a little bit easier travel time. And Slash is doing so much great damage right now anyway, I didn't think it was necessary. So we head through a rock tunnel and head to Celadon. We pick up some high quality H2O for the Saffron Guards, and then we give the little girl a Soda Pop for the TM for Rock Slide. Rock Slide gives us some valuable type coverage over flying and ice types, but it also gives us a move that can hit Ghost, so this will be useful in Pokemon Tower. But before we can go to Pokemon Tower, we have to clear the Rocket hideout under the game corner. So Giovanni is the boss and everyone knows that, but he's a little bit annoying here because we don't have anything to quickly deal with his rock types, but it's not too bad. I think Dig would have made this a little bit quicker, but it's not really necessary, and his rock types, they're not really doing too much damage. It's just a pain to have to take him out. Plus, Bind ends up hitting us, and it just wastes time. But I mean, Dig would have made this faster, but I think I still like my decision to not go with the Dig when we're going through this fight. So after taking down his Onix, a Rhyhorn comes out, which, I mean, it's still, we're doing more damage here, but it's still annoying to have to to whittle it down. But after we get through his rock types, his Persian comes out and really doesn't have stand a chance against us. We're able to, take it down really quickly. Doesn't choose to attack between a Guard Spec and a Screech, and so we pick up our Sylph Scope and we can head over to Pokemon Tower and face rival number 4. So as we pick up the Sylph Scope, we dig out of the Rocket Hideout and make our way over to rival 4. And rival 4 is similar to rival 3 in that it's not much of a challenge. He does have Fearow, and Fearow goes down after doing a little bit of damage with a Fury attack to a critical Rock Slide. I think that might have mattered, but it really doesn't make much of a difference, as the rest of his team is a complete sweep using only Slash. So this is another reason that Dig could have been helpful in some of these Pokemon, but at the same time, Slash is just doing so much damage and doing such great work right now that we're not really needing it and we're not really missing it. So, that's one advantage that we have so far, that Sandslash, it's just that attack and the defense is so much better than Dugtrio was, that we're able to make so much more progress. So now that we've picked up the Pokeflute, we can head right over to Silphco, and we're going to open up the rest of our move pool here, starting with Earthquake, and then we're also going to pick up the TM for Swords Dance. This combination is going to be super powerful. It's going to be super helpful for the rest of the run. I'm going to go for Earthquake first, and we're going to teach it over Scratch, because Scratch really isn't doing anything for us. I haven't been using it anyway. And then I'm going to pick up Swords Dance, and we're going to teach it over Sand Attack. And Swords Dance is fantastic because it's able to boost our attack 2 stages, which is already super powerful when we're using physically attacking moves. But also, it unlocks the Badge Boost glitch as well. So in Gen 1, every time your stats are modified, and you have the badge that goes with the stat boost, which normally gives 12.5%, the stats are additionally modified an additional 12.5%, boosting it even further to give an extra special, defense, speed, whatever it is. So that is fantastic, and it's going to make us even stronger as this run continues. Now that we have our full moveset that I'll be using for the remainder of the run opened up, I'm going to head out of Saffron City and head over to Fuchsia City to take on Koga. Even though we're under leveled compared to his Venonats and his Venomoth, I'm confident with Swords Dance and Earthquake, this is going to go pretty well. Start out with setting up a Swords Dance, and he goes for X attack, which is best case scenario. We then get to work with my Earthquake sweep. Down goes Venonat 1, down goes Venonat number 2, and then Venonat number 3 comes out, and we take it out, and now Venomoth comes out, and we get outsped, and a critical hit Psychic takes us down. That was not how I thought that would go. So we'll have to rebattle the Juggler right before Koga, so this time we go in poisoned with a little less health on the rematch. We start with Sword Stamps, get hit with a Psychic. This time I go for a second Sword Stamp to take advantage of the Badge Boost glitch, get a little bit extra speed, hopefully outspeed Venomoth, but also get that extra attack as well. So this time, with the extra boost from Surge's badge, we're able to go in a little bit higher with our attack, and our Earthquakes help get us back to Venomoth, who still outspeeds, but uses Double Team this time, causing our Earthquake to miss, and then it goes for another Double Team, but this time Earthquake connects, and it takes it out thanks to our extra Swords Dances, and gets us our 4th badge. And it wasn't pretty, but I'll take the 4th badge, and a win is a win, so we'll move on with our journey. Right now I've got a couple choices to make. I choose to go to Erica. Even though we don't have a type advantage and we're actually a disadvantage, I think our higher level and having Slash to help cover it will also help us out. And Tangela goes down to 2 hits before we level up, and out comes Weepinbell. I go for Earthquake, which is doing neutral damage. Even though it says super effective, there's a bug in Gen 1 that dual type Pokemon will display the wrong message. But anyway, doesn't matter here. And Erica's super easy, and we pick up our 5th badge. And with that, we're able to go on, and we're going to try on either Rival 5 or we're going to go for Blaine. And I'm going to start with Rival 5 here. So, Rival 5 face-off starts with a mirror match of Sandslashes, almost the same level even. However, I have Swords Dance and he doesn't. I go with Swords Dance before using Slash, which was a really dumb idea because Slash will not get the boost because of the way critical hits work in Gen 1. But we're able to then take it out and with an Earthquake, and then Earthquake will help us sweep through a large part of his team. And I decided to set up a second Swords Dance on Ninetales to help me power through and hopefully take out the Vaporeon in one shot as well. We outspeed Kadabra, and that's an easy one-shot with Earthquake. Out comes Vaporeon, we outspeed, and our Earthquake takes it out in one shot. And thanks to those Swords Dances, I love Swords Dance, so much fun, makes this so much easier than the Dugtrio battles were. I also want to point out that that was my first attempt at Rival 5-0 in this run, so I can't believe how well that worked. It was actually perfect. It was exactly how I planned my strategy out, and so it really validates the strategy for the run. So now we have to take out Giovanni, who goes down pretty easily. You see that I didn't even heal before this battle, and so go in and take out Giovanni, and with that, Team Rocket will run away, and that'll open up Sabrina's gym and the Psychic gym, and I'm really looking forward to that because as long as we can take out her frail Pokemon, we should be looking at another badge. And while Sabrina's Pokemon are pretty frail defensively, her first Abra has Flash, and that's going to mess up our accuracy. And you'll see that here in the battle, because we go for Slash, we get outsped, and immediately our accuracy's dropped, and we miss a Slash. And it's going to continue to use Flash, so we're now down 2 stages in accuracy. And although she loves to use X-Defense, our Slash goes right through it because it ignores that, because it's a critical hit in Gen 1. After a couple turns where she uses Recover on a full health Alakazam, and my Slash misses, we're able to start doing some damage, even though it's not accurate, not reliable because of those accuracy drops. It is just a pain, but we're able to take it out and earn our next badge. We weren't really attacked that much, so maybe it could have been interesting if our Alakazam would have tried to attack more, but we also got hit with two flashes, so that's also a pain that we normally would hopefully have to deal with to make that pretty consistent. Blaine's up next, and this battle is really frustrating. The Ninetales uses Confuse Ray, and that makes it really complicated when you go in confused against Rapidash. And then on top of that, Rapidash can outspeed us and makes us flinch with Stomp, it can trap us with Fire Spin, or it growls to lower our attack. We finally take it out with a crit, but get Fire Blasted to Ashes by Arcanine. And in the next attempt, we can see another outcome with Blaine, and that's a Ninetales attack right away, which is a crit Flamethrower, which is a one-hit on Sandslash at its current level. So directly attacking isn't quite working, so I decided to mix up the strategy a bit. Instead of attacking right away, I go to set up Swords Dance 2 times to boost our attack, using the Badge Boost glitch to also get a little bit extra speed. Ninetales also used a Tail Whip, so we actually got another boost there, and so we're able to outspeed and take it out with our Earthquake, which we also do to Rapidash as well, and then we outspeed Arcanine as well, and take it down, and that gets us our 7th gym badge. It was much more difficult than I thought it would be at first, but I really enjoyed using the Badge Boost glitch to be able to speed past this. It's always fun to be able to use something that's in Gen 1 that's a little bit weird that actually makes things a little bit easier than you would expect. So now we're on to Giovanni and our 8th and final gym badge, and Dugtrio outspeeds and hits us with a Sand Attack right away, just going to make things more annoying as while we're boosting our attack. His Fissure misses, but we're able to take it out with Earthquake. Now Persian outspeeds and a critical hit Fury Swipes last 5 turns before we can take it out, so that's really annoying. Nidoqueen's out next, and we miss Earthquake twice, thanks Dugtrio, before getting hit with an Earthquake too, taking us to red health, but we're able to take out the Nidoqueen. Nidoking goes down to a single Earthquake, and so now Rhydon is out next. We should outspeed, and I think we should take it out with our boosted attack, but we get a crit, and that is so frustrating, and then Fury Attack takes us down. So, on to the second attempt. Dugtrio's out first, and Fissure hits. 1-hit KO. Not much else to say about that one. On to attempt 3. So on this attempt, we set up Swords Dance. We still get hit with Sand Attack, but because we have our Swords Dance, we're able to take it out without taking any damage. We take Persian out as well. Screech will also give us a little bit of a badge boost. We're able to take Persian out with an Earthquake, and the same goes to Nidoqueen as well before we move on to Nidoking. So against Nidoking, we get our first miss thanks to Sand Attack, We get hit with the double kick, but it doesn't do too much before we take it out with Earthquake and bring out Rhydon. We level up, so any unintentional badge boosts are gone, but our Swords Dance are still there, and we're able to one-shot the Rhydon thanks to not getting a critical hit this time. And with that, we've now got all 8 gym badges, and we're ready to take on rival number 6 before we end up going into the Elite Four. Sandslash is making fantastic time right now, and is at a much lower level than I thought it would have to be to move forward. But we start out rival number 6 battle with a mirror match of Sandslash versus Sandslash, and I set up one Swords Dance before going for Earthquake. Probably should have set up some more, but I was worried about Sand Attack here, and I shouldn't have been because he doesn't actually know Sand Attack. So I also then set up my second Swords Dance against the Execute. Could have gone for either Leech Seed or for the Solar Beam. It went for Solar Beam, and so I wasn't able to, I don't end up taking Leech Seed damage the rest of the fight. I find it really weird that he loses Solar Beam on his final Executor. I mean, he basically changes the entire moveset though, so maybe it's not too strange. But anyways, that's a little bit of a tangent as we take down his Magneton and his Ninetales, and also his Kadabra, all with, one-shot sweeps. And now we're on to Vaporeon. And Vaporeon, he's a critical hit, and then we take a Hydro Pump and lose. Man. Downside of Gen 1 crits is really biting us in this run. So in the rematch, we again start by boosting our attack with Swords Dance. And then we go into Earthquake, which again, still should have probably set up twice against the Sandslash here, but we'll end up taking it down, and we're still at pretty good health overall. Execute comes out, and it goes for Stun Spore, which misses. Luckily, there is a 25% chance in Gen 1 that Status Moves won't work, or that it could miss still. So, we're able to move on pretty well here. We're actually in a really good place. We have to take a damage, and we're able to sweep through the team again using Earthquake on Magneton, using Earthquake on Ninetales, and then bringing out the Kadabra, which we will use either Slash or Earthquake against. Doesn't really matter. I go for Earthquake here to take it out. So out comes Vaporeon, and as long as we don't get a crit, and we don't, and we get to move on, and that's the battle. So we're moving on to the Elite Four. And it feels so weird because this strategy to win, we did need to get a critical hit. But I like that Gen 1 because it keeps things a little bit interesting. Things that you would hope for in later generations, you hope against in Gen 1. So, very odd mechanics. It's one of the reasons I like it so much. Now that we're at the Elite Four, Lorelai's up first, and I think this could be a little bit of a brick wall. After the Dugtrio run, I'm really scared of facing this with the ground type. After a few battles in Victory Road, we're at level 49 to test this out. And we outspeed, but our Rock Slide misses, and we go down to a single Bubble Beam with a crit. So that's not great, but we did learn that we outspeed, so this could be good. We just have to be stronger to outlast her team. So on our next attempt, I've used 9 of the 11 rare candies I picked up, and try again. And this goes pretty well, because Dugong loves to use Rest. Even though we do get hit with a strong Bubble Beam, using Rest allows us to set up our Swords Dance, so then we can sweep through our entire team. With our attack now maxed out, all we need to beat Lorelai is to avoid a critical hit, and we do that against Dugong, we do that again with Cloyster, now comes Slowbro, we do another non-critical Earthquake, which so this lack of getting critical hits with Sandslash is actually helping really well. We do get a crit against Jinx, but it didn't matter, it's still a one-shot. Out comes Lapras, and Lapras also goes down to a single Earthquake, and we've now beaten Lorelai and are going to be moving on to Bruno. So as always, before we head on to Bruno, we're going to restore our PP, heal up, and Bruno isn't really going to be much of a challenge to Sandslash, although there is one scary part, and I'll touch on that when we get there, but Onix is going to be a one-hit KO with Earthquake, and then we'll get into the rest of the battle there. So, as we start, Onix comes out first, and Bruno will, as I said, goes down. Then out comes Hitmonchan, and Hitmonchan is the only place that this can get really scary. We don't take it out with one hit, and that Ice Punch, that's the only challenge. If we get frozen, we are in trouble, and that's the end of the battle, but it doesn't, and then from there, Hitmonlee is an Earthquake one-shot. Onix comes out again, and that's still a one-shot with Earthquake. Outlast is Machamp, and I go with Slash to save some PP on Earthquake, just for the sake of, not having to use an Elixir. And 2 Slashes takes it down. Bruno doesn't attack, he uses an X-Defend. So, again, not too challenging. I decide to heal up just to make sure I'm at full health. before Agatha. Don't think it's really going to be a problem. We saw in the Dugtrio video how much her team struggles against Earthquake and then Rock Slide for Golbat. So we'll see how that one plays out now. Starting with Gengar number 1. It hits a Mega Drain right off the bat. We don't outspeed, so we do take a little bit of damage, but our Earthquake is enough to take it out, and we level up in the process. Out comes Golbat, who can be annoying and trolly because we can't quite take it out in one shot at this level. So that's annoying, and we do end up hurting ourselves in confusion a little bit, and then we end up taking it down, and that should pretty much be the rest of the battle here. But we outspeed Haunter. Earthquake is a one-shot. Arbok comes out. Arbok is also a one-shot with Earthquake, and that leads us to Gengar number 2. Gengar number 2 outspeeds us, but goes for Dream Eater, so no harm, no foul, and we've beaten Agatha, and now we're ready to move on to Lance. So I mentioned that we used 9 of our rare candies before, but I saved 2, and the reason was to help manipulate our level, to help avoid leveling up during battles. Might sound odd, but this way we can maximize the effects of the badge boost glitch. So naturally, that means we're going to be using Sword Stance to boost our stats here, but the question is where's the best place to set up? And the answer to that is, well, I'm not quite sure yet. I know it's not against Gyarados because, as we'll see, if we don't take it out right away, we're going to be in trouble. But regarding Lance's other Pokemon, I'm not sure what the right place to set up is. So we'll see here. Gyarados comes out, we go for Rock Slide, and it doesn't quite take it out. It'll take 2, and Hydro Pump does massive damage, almost taking us out. So this is not looking great right now, but we'll see how this goes. We get an Earthquake, which takes out the first Dragonair. That's great. Dragonair number 2 comes out, and Earthquake also takes it out. Out comes Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl outspeeds us and takes us out with a Wing Attack, and that's the end of this run. So we'll have to work our way back through the Elite Four again, starting with Lorelei, and we'll be using the same strategies as before to work our way back to Lance. As we're running through the Elite Four again, as long as we get past Lorelei, we're guaranteed to get back to Lance, just because Bruno and Agatha are both super easy, thanks to the ground typing of Sandslash, and Earthquake is so powerful against their teams. But this whole time, I'm thinking through, how do we make this Lance fight work? Because right now, it's really tough, and I really don't want to level up more, because I think it's possible at our current level. Since we're in Gen 1, Rock Slide can't cause flinches, so that's not really an option. And I mean, we could wait for a critical hit Rock Slide, but that doesn't really sound reliable because it's already not 100% accurate, and we don't have a high base crit rate anyway. Getting a crit at 12.7% with Sandslash isn't super reliable, and so waiting for that to hit with Rock Slide, I really don't want to do that as a strategy. We do have an extra rare candy that I was saving up to maybe use before the champion battle, so that's also an option. So there's a lot of things to come up with and kind of think about when we're building out this plan. So as I mentioned, once we get past Lorelei, which we do on this run, which is actually the very next run that we had after our failed attempt, we are easily going to take it past Bruno because his Pokemon are very weak against our moves. Even though Hitmonchan survives, just like last time, it goes for Thunder Punch this time. I don't know what he's thinking. Bruno isn't a great trainer. We saw that in Red and Blue, and it continues into Yellow, even though he's much better than he was there. We're able to still take out the rest of his team with Earthquake. Machamp does do some damage to us this run, but still not anywhere close to being at risk of getting knocked out. And that lets us move on to Agatha, who again, like I said before, once we get past Lorelei, Bruno and Agatha are so consistent, so easy to move past, that it's not really a problem. And then we're able to get back to Lance every time after that. So we're going to heal up before Agatha. Not much of a need here, it's just a little bit of a precaution in case something goes sideways. We get hit with the Toxic, or we get confused. It just makes it a little bit more consistent, because we still won't outspeed the Gengar here. And here she does a switch right off the bat. Instead of actually being able to take down the Gengar, we end up missing our Earthquake and take out the Golbat with Rock Slide. We then get confused, but it's already over at this point. We don't really have any challenges. As long as our Earthquake doesn't miss, we're gonna make it through. I guess we could have gotten put to sleep. That could have been a problem, but doesn't really happen too consistently. Agatha attacks randomly, as J-Rose calls her, the Agatha Lottery, and really it's a lot of randomness to this fight, but we're able to take it out, move on to Lance. And at this point, I kind of alluded to it earlier, we are going to use both rare candies here. And the reason for that is to give us a little bit of extra strength. And there's a strategy here that's going to be a little bit close, but I think it'll work out. I did a little bit of math, a little bit of damage calculations, and I think this could get really interesting. But I'm really excited to see if it turns out here. So as we go up to Lance, last time I didn't want to set up against the Gyarados, but that's exactly what we're going to do this time. As Gyarados comes out, we're going to set up one Swords Dance and then hope Hydro Pump misses. It doesn't, which isn't great, but we still have a little bit of health here. We have 20, which should be enough, but I'm not positive. So Rock Slide's now a one-hit KO, and we know the Earthquake is going to be a one-hit KO against both Dragonairs. So now as long as Aerodactyl uses Wing Attack and doesn't get a crit, we should survive. And it does, and we survive on 1 HP to take it out with Rock Slide. It's a little bit risky, but it ends up paying off. We have to hit with Rock Slide on Dragonite too, which comes off, and that gets us the win with 1 HP. I am so happy the math worked out. It might have been a range there, but still, we got the win, and we're moving on to the champion. If Hydro Pump missed, it would have been perfect, would have had no problems at all, but we didn't get that here, but we still survived. So let's heal up, cue up the champion battle music, and see how that fight goes, and I'm really excited for this one. So as before, we start out with the Sandslash matchup, and we'll outspeed because we're a higher level and we have our EVs that are from our training values that we've done throughout the entire run. We set up Swords Dance, we go for an Earthquake, and we get a crit so it doesn't take it out, which gives a slash opportunity to the opponent, and now we're at half for the rest of the battle. Not great, but I think we'll be okay. We don't outspeed Alakazam, and Psybeam takes us down to 33 health, so this is not looking great overall, but our Earthquake's strong enough to take it out, and that leads to Exeggutor, who will only use Leech Seed because of the good AI, so that gives us a chance to get another Sword Stance in, and that doesn't quite take out Exeggutor, so we're at 21 health the rest of this time to get rid of the rest of his Pokemon. Ninetales is out, and that's okay, that's a one-shot. Then we'll send out Magneton, will also be a one-shot as long as we hit, and we do. So now we're on Vaporeon, and again, we're fighting the Leech Seed timer. As long as Earthquake hits, I think we'll be okay, no crit. Yes, and we got the win. Level up to 64, and that's where we'll finish this run. Fantastic by Sandslash. Way faster than I thought it would be because I was expecting it to be more like Dugtrio, but it isn't, and that's fantastic. I had so much fun with this run. While there were a few sticking points, the run was pretty easy overall. It was pretty consistent. When we needed some more help, we just did another turn to set up and it became consistent. So we end at level 64 for this run, which is the lowest level to date. Sandslash also finishes with a time of 4 hours and 10 minutes, which is by far the best to date, almost 2 full hours faster than Dugtrio was. And now that we have a couple more Pokemon on the list, I've separated these into 2 clear tiers for now, Sandslash being in the top tier, with Dugtrio and Droozee falling to the second tier. So with that, now that we've placed our latest completion on the tier list, we need to figure out who the next one will be, so let's spin the wheel, hoping for anything but a ground type here. So as it slows down and comes to a stop, we'll be running with Tauros. Awesome. Not a ground type, this is going to be fun. Tauros is a very strong Gen 1 option, so I'm really looking forward to playing through here and seeing where Tauros comes in on the playlist. So, as always, if you like the video, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified when the newest videos come out. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I know I sure did. And until next time, I'm Droozee, and I hope to see you again soon.